All right, folks. Good morning. Here we are. Welcome in. It is House Edge Live. John from Casino Gaming Central here on a Monday. We're starting a new series, or not new. We're continuing on our progression series, and this week we're talking about negative progressions. I'm actually going to break that into 2 weeks. So this week we'll do kind of the generic. I hate to say generic, but the more common ones, I guess. And next week we'll do the full week on laddering, because laddering, for some reason, for a good reason, is the most popular way to do a negative progression. And I think a lot of people, I see Waylon from Waylon's Way Crafts is here. That's kind of his way to play. Ken does some of this. A lot of guys kind of lock in on that's the better of all the negative progressions. So I think it deserves its own time versus just kind of plugging into the darkness. So anyway, here we go. Let's get into it. Let's get into it and say our normal piece here, which is this. It's a hard game out there. I was talking to my brother about this last night, actually, because it's funny. People don't realize how much they actually know about this stuff until you ask them, right? We're talking about my parents, and you know the story of my family, right? We had some gambling issues back in the past, and he was joking. He said, "Hey, just teach mom craps." I'm like, "I did teach mom craps, but the problem is you cannot be super social and play craps. Why? Right? You can be a good player, but if you're too social and too having fun and talking to everybody and living it up and having a great old time, what does the casino really want? They want time on device. They want you to be there for a long time. They want rolls per hour on craps. They want hands per hour in blackjack. And you can't be super social and taking your time and setting the dice and doing all the things that take them from 60 rolls an hour to maybe 30 rolls an hour, right? It costs them too much money because of the formula. The formula is this. They need to bankrupt you. They can't bankrupt you if you're not going to play. They need you playing all the time, right? So anyway, I got to remind myself and us every day of this point, because it drives everything. This is the reason why we do this, right? Why I spend so much time on these damn shows every day. And again, it falls into like, what can you do to stop that? Like, that's their game. They're here to beat you, right? What can you do to not get beat? Well, today is a good day. We're going to talk about bankroll. Bankroll, how you leverage your wins, how you handle your losses. Negative progression is leaning into the bankroll piece of the bridge. It's the one piece of the bridge, by the way, that's actually tangible. Everything else is here. Everything else is how you feel about risk, how you can see what's going on. Do you have discipline to bug out? Do you set goals? Do you keep your emotions in check? All those things are under your control. The bankroll is under your control, but it's the one thing that really talks through, I think, especially the topic of negative progressions and how we can kind of get through a day in some kind of a sane way. So anyway, that's the topic for the week. And let's just jump into this week's topic, kind of full bore. And what I'm calling, I'm doing the whole clickbait title thing, right? I'm calling this week the chasing loss for the win week, right? Everybody who plays a negative progression effectively is chasing loss. Okay. Now, I've said to you in the past many, many times, chasing loss is probably the worst thing you can do. And I want to qualify that. If you've got a plan to target the loss, like negative progressions do, it's a different conversation. I'm not saying it's a better or the best conversation, but it's a different conversation than just chasing loss. People get pissed off when they lose and start dumping extra money out there trying to get it back. That's a mindset, mental issue. Playing a negative progression, which is a planned march through a loss or through a bad sequence, totally different story. And we're going to talk about those today. Tomorrow, I'm going to give you both sides of the argument on our Fact or Fiction show. Wednesday, of course, Pressure Cooker. I'm going to roll some stuff out. We'll give it a shot. And Thursday, you can tell me what you think. You like it or hate it. As always, any questions you guys have during the show, just drop a Q in the chat and I'll see them. Of course, I'll respond to any comments in the show, in the comments of the actual video after she airs. So, all right, let's hit it. Let's hit the I'm going to go here, actually. There. Go. Come on. Here. Oh, my God. There it is. Wow. Look at this mess. Look at this mess I created. Holy crap and crap. I want to be here. See that? Hit the wrong button and the whole thing goes sideways. All right. It's the ABCs of gambling. And we've done many, many shows on this topic. I've done many shows on negative progressions. We'll just do another one. I think you can't do these enough. And I think if you're new to gambling and you just stumbled onto somebody's show, and I'll use Waylon as an example. You're brand new to this. You stumble into Waylon and you go, well, oh, wow, that's amazing. You just add more money when you lose and it's going to be okay. Not necessarily the case. It's not necessarily going to quote unquote be okay because you showed up and added money when you lose. It's not that simple. These negative progressions, we call them, ways to chase your loss, ways to bet more money after you lose. You'll see that the basic concepts of a negative progression is this. You go up in your bets when you lose, you come down somehow in your bets when you win. At some point, and here's the key. People who just think, oh, I'm just going to bet more when I lose. No, you got to look at the reset point, right? When you come down in these ladders or in these negative progressions, there's a point at which you go, okay, the move, quote unquote, worked. Whatever I was trying to do, it worked. If I'm in Fibonacci, if I'm into 31, if I'm into whatever it is, it worked. Let me pull the money back and reset the bank, take a look where I am, and then make a decision. Reset the bets, go again. You might be down and have to keep doing it a few times, right? Or I can tap out. The best thing about playing a negative progression is that there's many times during your work when you reset and you go, okay, it's a mental reset. It's a physical look at my chips reset. Where am I? Waylon will tell you every video he has. Be satisfied, number one. Know where you are is number two. If you don't know where you are, you're going to have a big problem on your hands. And I think he does a really good job of pointing that out. Ken does as well, right? Know where you are as you're working your way backwards through a negative progression, okay? But that's the core pieces of it. You go up when you lose, you come down when you win. Most people who are just quote unquote chasing the losses, like, oh, I'm fucking pissed and I'm just going to rail dump, right? They aren't going down as they win. They're just angry. They're betting mad. You can't bet mad. That's the big thing. These are, hey, I know we're going to lose a number of times in a row. It's going to happen. The casino has these edges, right? We're going to get beat. How do I plan for that? And what do I do when the table turns? That's the whole notion of one of these negative style progressions, okay? The pros to them, and again, we'll talk more about pros and cons tomorrow, but I'm going to highlight them for you today. One of the pros, and I hate to say it negatively first, but it's a scoped loss. You should know before you jump onto a table, if you're going to play a negative progression, how much it's going to cost you. If I lose, whatever your limit is, 5 in a row, 6 in a row, 7 in a row, 8 in a row, whatever your top end loss is going to be, I'm not going to take more than 8 losses today. Okay, cool. You can do the math and say, well, 8 losses is going to cost me X number of dollars. You know ahead of time what your shot's going to cost you, right? You also know what it's going to win. When you do a martingale, it's going to win 1 unit when it comes back. When you do a 31, you're either going to win double or half of your bet on the way back down. You have to know what that is ahead of time. It's good to know. When this works, it's going to net me this. When it fails, I'm going to lose that. Ahead of time, you already know it, right? It's almost like there's one of these, I won't show it today, but it's kind of hard to show. But there's a negative progression called the Labouche. You start out with it saying, I'm going to win 8 units. You know ahead of time when it works, 8 is your number. It's like you set your goal ahead of time. I love that part of it. You do your thing. Now, it does have an open-ended loss, which kind of sucks. But you know your win coming out the backside. That's a beautiful thing, right? And there are clear decision points. When you're playing a negative progression, there are clear points along the way coming back down that you can decide, ooh, it worked. Let's see where we are. Do I reset and start over again? Do I level up my base and start and go for the jugular? Have I got my goal and I can walk? I love that there's clear points. It isn't like this willy-nilly open-ended thing that you're going to play and just not know when to stop. These negative progressions have stopping points, which again, if you're chasing loss, like emotionally chasing loss, you're not going to have a stopping point. You're just going to be like pissed off and rail dumping, right? The rest of us who are doing it this way really do. It's controlled. It's a controlled march. And like you go, hey, I know when it's done. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Now, there are always negatives to playing these things, right? There's cons to it too. The number one con to a negative progression is this. It is that you need a massive amount of bankroll. You cannot just show up and do it. And I'm going to show you a couple of systems here today that will really highlight to you how much bankroll you actually need to play. And it's a lot. It isn't like it's cheap to do this. Okay. And it's a lot of risk bankroll wise for a pretty small reward. Now the reward comes way more often than the full loss. You might win 15 times in a row and then lose all your bankroll one time. And in the end, you're up 4 units total between all 12 sessions or all 16 sessions. It's the way it works. It's a grinding way to play. Okay. But you need bankroll to get through it. The other thing that I think people don't really think about, and I want you to really process what I'm about to say. One of these guys in my favorite people in the world, JB, he's a math guy. He's a professor of mathematics. Like, this guy's legit. And he said this to me once. I never forgot it. And he's like, the impossible is guaranteed to happen. It's guaranteed to happen, the impossible thing. And, one of the examples that he gives is, have you ever seen 25 sevens rolled in a row on a craps table? Or have you ever seen, 10 zeros rolled in a row, spun in a row on a roulette wheel? And the answer from everybody in the audience here is going to be no. I've never seen 25 sevens in a row. I've never seen 10 zeros in a row. Has it happened? Absolutely. Were you there? No. It's going to happen. There's no question that the craziest shit you could ever think of is going to happen. You may never see it, but it's there. So when you're playing a negative progression, you're going to go up, 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 up. I'm never going to lose 8 in a row. Come on. I got 160 across. There's no way 8 people in a row are going to 7 out on me. They will. Like, the unthinkable is going to happen. We give the example a lot of like the flip and a quarter experiment, right? You put a stadium of 100,000 people out there, right? And everybody flips a quarter and all the heads get to stay, all the tails get to leave, right? At the end of that match, somebody's going to win. At the end of 100,000 people, one person is going to win 13 times in a row. He's going to roll 13 heads in a row. It's impossible for you to sit there and say, I'm going to run 13 heads in a row. But somebody's guaranteed to do that. In that stadium of 100,000, somebody's going to do it. So thinking that it's never going to happen, they can't get me if I play this way. They can get you if you play that way. And it's very important that you understand that you're going to get crushed by a negative progression at some point. It's about timing. I made this point a while back. One of my good friends, Ken from Ken Knows Gambling, did a series of a negative-ish progression strategy where they went like 97 wins before their first loss. And it was fantastic. 97 wins in a row. He put 40 grand in the virtual bank account by playing that way. He lost 10 grand. So what? Right? That's good. That's negative progressions working the way they should. But what if the 10 grand loss had come on the first day? Right? It's a whole different conversation. Now you're down 10,000. And it's going to take you 90 something times in a row to catch it back up again. Timing is everything in these things. And again, the crazy shit will happens. So that's the biggest negative, I think, to the whole thing, is getting your brain wrapped around the fact that that's probably going to be the case. Right. Okay. So I think there's also ways that you can think about these things and tweak them a little bit. And I'm going to show you a few here in a minute, but to me, leveraging your base, getting out quick, and betting your goal are the 3 ways that I think a negative progression can be played on an interesting basis. Let me go to my table. I just want to show you a few of these things kind of as we go here. Let me flick to the table view, and let's just run a few of these. Oh, my thing's upside down. Sorry, I was doing a meeting on Zoom, and Zoom can't flip the camera. So, all right, there we go. Let's do it. There, look at that. How about that? That fits perfect. Okay, cool. Let's do a couple out here. I'm going to show you a few of the more common ones, and let's really look at bankroll requirements. I think that's going to be the thing that is going to probably worry most or scare most people. And but you got to know, right? I'll use white chips because they show up good on camera. Doesn't matter what chip size we have. And let's start with the first negative progression now, and I'll talk about how it's played and what the goal of it is. It's called the martingale, and there's a couple of options with the martingale. Okay. And we can actually, I'll do some reds too, because I think reds make this a little bit more interesting. Also, here we go. The martingale is up as you lose, stop when you win. So there's no coming down this ladder. This is a straight march to hell, right? You're going to go 1 unit, and if that unit loses, I'll put the losses over here in the horn area, okay? You lose 1, you have to bet 2. You double the last bet in the martingale. So you lose 1, then you lose 2. If you lose 2, your next bet is 4, because you double, put it here so you can see it better. You double your last one. Okay, there's 1, 2, there's 4. Your next bet is 8 units. There's 4, there's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units. Okay, level 4 is an 8 unit loss. I'm going to spread these out. Now it's going to get crazy because 8 becomes 16. And you're going to go, I'll do it like this so you can see it better. There's 15, 16 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 16 becomes 32. 25, 32 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 levels in. The 7th level, 64 units. 50, 60, 4 units. That's level 7. And if you can make it past level 7, the next one is 128. Okay, 125, 128. Now, most mere mortals can't do this. Okay, 128. I'm going to add all this up for you. Okay, that's an 8-step martingale. At $1. We look at this as an actual $1 bet. Okay, let's say you're playing Bubble Baccarat. $1 bet, Bubble Baccarat. What does that look like for you? And again, we'll put it all back out here together. There's 8 steps. Oh, by the way, let me show you this too. Let me actually show you the last step. It's very interesting. 128. I'm going to put these back. Here's the goal of it. Before I give you the negative, I'm going to give you the goal. So you can see what actually happened. There's the 4, 2, 3, 4. There's the 6, 7, 8. Okay, there's the 8. 16, 32, 64. Okay. If you win on level 8, let's say you have your 128 and you win the 128. Okay, watch what happens here. 128 wins 128. If we take all of this over here, okay, there's going to be, I hope, $127 sitting over here. Let's add all this mess up. We've got 75, 105, 10, 15, 120, 125, 127. Okay. So after all of that, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128 wins 128. You had lost to that point 127, which means you went all this way to win a net of 1. Okay. It seems silly, but again, the loss level is known. You know ahead of time you're going to have 128 or 128 plus 127 total risk. That's 256 total risk, right? In units, if you're betting black chips to start with, times it by 256, $26,000. That's what you need to get into this thing, right? To win 1 black chip. We did it with white chips, 256 to win 1. Okay, that's how this works. It's a guarantee, quote unquote, of a 1 unit win when the move works. If you lose 8 times in a row, that's a bad day. That's probably the worst possible day to lose 8 times in a row. It rarely happens, but like I said before, the impossible happens. You will lose 8 blackjack hands in a row. Banker will go on an 8 run. I've seen black and red both go 9, 10 in a row all the time. All the time you see that, right? All the games have this happen to them, right? Rare in craps for a don't pass or a pass to get 7 or 8 in a row. But guess what? I know people, you know people that have won the fire bet. You win a 5-point fire bet. I'm telling you, there's 8 losses for the don't player in a row in there. That guy probably threw a couple of come out 7s too. He made 8 or 6 points for sure. That's 6 of these losses. You know there's a couple of come out 7s in that mix too. The don't pass player probably went through 8 units or 8 losses. It happens. But that's the martingale. It's double every win or double every loss. The minute you win, your decision point is there because you win a net of 1 unit. All that loss goes away, and you've got a 1 unit win staring at you. Now, if that 1 unit is enough for you to walk away, your decision point is bye-bye. That's the martingale. You always will win a unit when it's all said and done. Now, a martingale twist that I've seen is the M+1. I'll show it to you because it's interesting. If you lower your scope, right? You say, I'll do this for 5 levels or 6 levels or whatever instead. It's interesting, right? Because you can do a martingale of 1 and lose it and go out with last loss, double up, +1, which is 3. Then you're going to go last loss, 3 times 2, +1, and add 1 to it. Okay? I'll put these over here. That was a 7 unit loss. Now we're going to go to 14 units. So we're going to go to 10. I'll do 5 levels. 14 plus 1. So now it's a 15 unit bet. And then we're going to go to 30 plus 1 to 31. And now we're done. This is our last bet coming up. Okay. We'll go to 31. Or sorry, we'll double it up to 60. 62 plus 1. And here's the difference, right? When you do it with the +1, you end up a little bit bigger. You end up with more than a unit as the win. The +1 ends up making it not just a 1 unit win. You end up with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 extra units as the win. So you can level up your wins as you go. That's the martingale. The old joke is friends don't let friends martingale because that bankroll requirement is way too big for you. Okay, that's the Marty. Now, another one that's pretty popular is the Fibonacci sequence. And the Fibonacci plays a little differently. It still takes some bankroll, but here's how this works. I'm going to lay it out for you ahead of time. We'll look at the loss piles first. And the Fibonacci is always going to be the last 2 numbers added together. So your first one is a 0. So 0 plus 1 is 1. That's your second bet. 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 3 is 8. 8 plus 5 is 13. 13 plus 8 is 21. That's the Fibonacci. So what you do is you know ahead of time, if you get bonked in the Fibonacci, you're going to lose whatever this total is. Let's add it up. I'm going to get these so you can see them all, right? It's 20, 30, 5, 40, 1, 44, 47, 50, 2, 3, 4. 54 units is your scope for the Fibonacci at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 levels. So 8 levels in, it's 54. It's a lot less risk than the martingale was. It's a lot less risk than the martingale was, but this is played a little bit differently. It's only 8. And again, you lose 8 in a row, sayonara suckers, there you go. That's the way it's going to work. But when you win, and what you do is you have to win twice. You can't just win and come back to 0. You got to win twice. So let's say that you lose, 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 and lose here. Okay. Let's say we win this one here. You win 5, right? If you look at this, you didn't get your money back. You have 3, 5, 6. You didn't win your money back. Okay. What you do is you take that win and you go 2 back. You're going to go back and you're going to start at 2 before it, the number 2 bet. If you win at there, now you're back. There's your money back. That's the Fibonacci. Then you can start over again. So you basically, when you win, you back up 2 and you win again, then you're out. So you're going to win here, and if you get your money back, you can start over again. You're trying to win back in here. These little ones, you want to win the little ones. That's the Fibonacci sequence. And again, a lot less risk total, but you're going to go 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21 is your bet levels. As you lose, you go up. When you win, and you come back 2. You win a second time, you can reset the whole board. And that's how that works. You're going to need a little bit of pen and paper to do this. Your next one, by the way, 21 plus 13 is 34 34 is your next bet over here. Okay, so that's how this works. You keep adding the last two together. That's your next size bet. That's Fibonacci. Fibonacci is very popular in Baccarat roulette. A lot of people Fibonacci themselves into oblivion in these games because getting two in a row is hard, right? But that said, one of my favorite ways to play is called a 31, and it's the same idea. The 31 starts out like this. It's 1, 1, and then it's 2, 2. I think it's 3 ones, I think. And then 4, and then 4, and then 8, and 8. Let's do this again. Bam, bam, bam. Okay, there's 4. I got to get it so it all fits. It's kind of hard to make it all fit on screen. Lots of steps here. The 31. Okay, there we go. So 8 and 8, 16, 24, 26, 28, 31. Okay. The way the 31 works is very much like the Fibonacci, but check this out. There's, again, less risk. It's 31 units instead of 50 something units, right? The martingale was 256, right? Here we are now we're at 31 units. And again, looking to win a buck at the end. Okay. All you do here is win 2 in a row. You have 8 cracks at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cracks at it, rather. 9 cracks at it to win 2 in a row. Now, it's hard to win 2 in a row, but here's how it works. You lose, right? Let's say you're on this one here and it wins, right? You parlay the win. If you win your parlay, you're up 3 units on that first one, okay? If you lose here, lose here, lose here, okay? Now you're on this number 2 bet. That's the active one, and you win it. You parlay that win. You win 4. And what happens is you put your bets all back. I'll put your win over here. Your bets go back. There's 1, 2, 3 that you had lost, and a 1, 2, 3 unit win. Okay. The win is a little bigger as you're working your way through. Now, if you happen to, unfortunately, lose the first of the ones where you have 2 of them, there's 2 2s here. You lose that one. On the second 2, if you won it and you won your parlay, here's the money. It's 2, 3, 4, 5. Out of your win, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? You have 1. That's your losses replaced. You have a 1 unit win. So you either win 1 unit or 3 coming back. This is my favorite negative progression, by the way. I like this better than anything else. It's a known 31 losses. All I got to do is win twice along the way. Somewhere I got to win twice in a row, and I'm done. If I don't win my twice in a row, I'm out 31, and I'm good, right? At $5 or at $25, this is kind of affordable. You can actually get into this and do it. Even 31 green chips, if you had to get there, right? It's 700 and change. You can afford that. You can get into that, most people, and survive this one. This one here is one of my faves. On the negative side, because again, there's a very scoped loss of 31 units. There's a very known win amount when it works out. So again, not for everybody, right? If you're light bankrolled and you don't want to chase your loss, all of these feel pretty scary. If you think about it, right? You got to come armed with 31 units and be ready to lose all of it. You cannot do, by the way, a 31. You cannot come here. I'm going to show you this again. You cannot do this, and I'll say this again when we get into the ladders next week. There's the 4, here's the 2 8s. I'll put this again. Right, this is designed to give you 9 shots at winning 2 in a row. Right, you have 9 shots to win 2 in a row. You cannot get here, lose all that, and go, oh God, oh my God, I'm scared, and walk away. You cannot do that. You cannot burn whatever this is, 14 units, and get scared and leave. If you're going to do a negative progression, you have to let your bankroll do the work. You brought it here for the reason of letting it ladder up the loss and chase those losses and get your win, your guaranteed win out of it. You cannot get spooked when you're doing a negative progression. It's the one thing, and I think I've seen more people burn themselves in this style of play because they get scared when the bets get too big. If you're scared when the bets get too big, don't play it. If losing that last bet, the 9th bet in the 31 or the 8th bet of a martingale or the 8th or 9th bet in a Fibonacci, if that loss means you're not making your mortgage payment, or you're not getting your kids' college paid for, whatever that means to you, you cannot make that bet. You cannot come to the table with a plan to play the Fibonacci dozens or the Fibonacci red or the martingale pass line. You cannot. I will not allow you to do it. You cannot do that. If that amount of loss is life changing, you got to have enough money in your bank. I'm going to go back to the screen here. This is an important point we have to make together. You have to go back. Where's my? Oh, I'm in the wrong screen. Hold on. Let's go meet left. Is this the one? Yes. You have to have the ability to say, I'm willing to lose 9 levels or 8 levels of a martingale. Let's just take the Marty as the worst case. I'm willing to lose 8 levels of martingale, 256 units. I'm willing to lose that 10 times. You better have enough in your bank, your actual bank with your debit card, in an account that doesn't matter to you, in an account that you don't need to retire on, eat with, pay your bills with, in a separate account, to lose that bet 10 times, right? What does that mean? 2,500 or 3,000 units. If it's $1 units, you're playing bubble craps or bubble roulette or bubble baccarat for $1 a hand. You better have $3,000 in the bank to do an 8-step martingale 10 times. You have to have that. Nobody's doing it for $1. You're all doing it like degenerates for $0.25, which means you need 256 quarters, whatever the hell that adds up to, 10 times. What is that? That's 2,500 quarters. How much money is 2,500 quarters? Let me just do it. Actually, it's 256 times 20 times 25. That looks like $128,000 in the bank. You're going to do a martingale at the quarter level, 8 steps. You need $128,000 in the bank to survive 8 losses in a row 10 times. That's the kind of bankroll that you need. When I'm talking about you need big bankroll, I'm not talking about you need $5,000 over the weekend. I'm talking about you need $100,000 in the bank that you don't care about to play that way with an unscoped end. At least with the 31, right? So 31 times 25 is, 31 times 25, it's $775 times 10. You got $7,500 in the bank. You can make that work, right? You can actually try that 10 times, but you better freaking be careful. And I think that's the most important thing, right? Know the bankroll needs before you get into it. Know that bankroll is not life-changing money. That's so important. And again, because the impossible thing is guaranteed to happen. It's going to happen at least once to you. You're going to burn the bankroll at least one time. If not, you're going to pucker the whole way out to it, right? Just know it ahead of time. I don't care if you do it. Like I said, I don't care if you play this way. God be with you if you do. I don't have that kind of money. I'm not willing to lose that amount of money 10 times in a row. I'm just not, right? But again, when you outpace the impossible, it's okay. If you outpace the impossible, you can do okay, right? You win 50 times in a row and lose once, you're doing good, right? You're going to be ahead. As long as you don't lose all of it the first time, it's timing, right? So there you go. All right, let me get to some questions. I'm sure there's stuff in chat. I really couldn't see the chat while I was going today. So just because when I'm looking down at the table, I really can't see. So let me just run through here and just run through some of the chatter that's out there. And Waylon says, yeah, none of them, they all want your money. You're talking about the casinos here, right? None of them are your friends. Believe that for sure. He says, we all chasing losses, whether or not you're pressing or laddering. We do, right? How often do you start in a freaking hole? I start in the hole all the time. And it sucks starting in the hole. But the negative progressions give you a pathway forward, right? If you were able to start ahead every single time you went, you'd never be a loser. Imagine winning. Imagine going to the casino. Imagine the perfect world going to the casino, right? I'll put that comment back up there. Imagine you go every time you went to the casino, you won your first bet. Can you imagine what your life would look like? Didn't matter what it was. 44 inside, $15. If you went every single time and won the first bet you placed, imagine how your life would change. But it doesn't work that way, right? That's why negative progressions are a real thing in the world, and they can, played smart, can work. So yeah, Tom, it's very helpful that a lot of people come in here and talk through it. I hope the chats get busy when this happens. I wasn't really watching, but hopefully the chatter is lively, because there are strong opinions on ladders. Any kind of negative progression is going to be strong opinions on whether you should or shouldn't do it. Do they work? So 40 Craps is using a betting progression, essentially example of gambler's fallacy. Yes and no. And I think, how do I say this right? It's a mindset thing. So let me throw this math problem at you. The likelihood of rolling 3 sevens in a row is 16% times 16% times 16%, right? It's factored in. So if you said at the outset, I'm going to bet you $1 for 50, right? 50 to 1, that you will not roll 3 sevens in a row. Ahead of time, the odds are one thing. After rolling 2 sevens, your chance of rolling a 7 again is the same as it was. It never changes, right? It's when you stack them together ahead of time. In advance, I say, you can't do this impossible thing. That's where the odds really go against you. And that's where the long shots come in, right? But in the moment, everyone is the same. If you're betting on red because you say red is due, or black because red shouldn't happen again, it's got to be black next, that's gambler's fallacy. If your reasoning is because this happened, it's going to happen again, it's fallacy. 2 players can see 5 reds in a row and be betting on red for 2 different reasons, right? Me, I saw the first red and I started betting on it. And I got another one. Cool. And I increased my bet. Cool. Increase the bet. And I keep betting as it's happening just because I'm stacking up some wins, right? I'm just betting the wave that shows up. Somebody else walks up to the table and goes, oh, look at that, 5 reds in a row. Let me go ahead and bet red. There's a difference there. It's nuanced, but there's a difference there. One player is falling into gambler's fallacy. One player is just riding what's happening as it's happening. It's that look to the future that becomes the fallacy, I believe. So it's my opinion. So for sure. Dr. S is great point. Factor in the losses. The win-loss ratio is what matters. Again, Ken and Waylon went 97-1 on that one strategy, right? A huge win-loss ratio. That's why they made so much money. But again, if the one loss came first or on day 2 or day 3, whole different conversation. You're down 10. Instead of being up 40,000 when you lost 10, you're down 10,000 before you won $150. The conversation's way different. It's all about timing. Yeah. And then you're right. So if you lose that last one in a row in a martingale, you got to win 100 to get back to where you were. It's super hard, right? I know Skill had 8 losses in craps and it sucked, right? I mean, it's, I remember you telling me about that. It's brutal, right? Yeah. So let's see. Amazing how limiting perspective people have. Yeah. And I think you're right, Duracell. You've got to look at these things, I think, wide-eyed. Look at it wide-eyed. You just got to know, this is what it would cost me if it went bad. This is what I win when it goes right. And if I can win more and make it go right for myself more often than not, I'm going to be okay. And that's what Tony teaches, right? It's all about focusing, right, on the little wins, stacking those things up and getting out. I think it's very important. So, all right. Yeah, the casinos do love it for sure. They love it when you don't understand it, for damn sure. Gary, for most people, the problem with negative progressions is the amount of discipline required to potentially bet the large amounts. What I said earlier, right? If you can't stomach the level 7 or level 8 bet, you can't play it. You can't play it. If you're going to get scared halfway through, you cannot play it. Because, again, in the negative progression, if I go way back to the bridge screen, right? The negative progressions, the tool that you've got is your bankroll, right? It's the one time you're saying my bankroll is the hammer I'm going to beat the casino with. And if you're afraid to use the hammer, if your stop loss for that buy-in is not 0 because you need all the levels to get it done, you can't play that way. And it's hard, man. I'm feeling you. It's very difficult because it takes discipline to put that big ass bet out there. And it takes discipline to have worked through all those series, come back with a 1 unit win and say, that's enough for me. Right? Now, one thing I talked earlier about was this idea of tweaking it and saying, look, maybe you bet your goal. Maybe my goal is $100. I do a 5-level black chip progression. And my goal is to win 1 chip. That way you don't got to do the progression 18 times a day or 5 times in a row to get it. Either wins your goal or it doesn't. Bet your goal as the base unit and take it as far as you can. That's an interesting way to look at it. But again, it takes so much money to do that. You got to be kind of in tune with that. And if you're not ready for it, you're not ready for it. How else to say that, right? David says 31 is my go-to with strict rules. First, don't pass. I can't read that. My mouse. Don't lose more than 2 bets against one shooter. I'm undefeated in the last decade, 25 units for 775. So first, don't pass. Don't lose more than 2 bets against the shooter. Now, I hear you. I'm not a big believer in the whole one shooter can't beat me more than once idea, but I get what you're saying. The 31's a great strategy. The 31 is one of the coolest ones. I remember when I first got introduced to that, I was probably in my 30s, and I was like, whoa, that was great. I played on roulette more than any other game. It's fantastic. All right. What do we have here? Anything else? This is my Ken's channel. So yeah. I think again, you've got to be okay with grinding. And I think, how do I say this right? I hate to say it, that sounded negative. Negative progressions are for the grinders, right? Negative progressions are a way to grind out the small wins. That's what they're good at. Negative progressions are not ways to destroy a casino. Okay. That's your right side. That's your positive progressions from last week. That's trying to win 10 units from 1. Those are the ways that you make a dent. A negative progression does not make a dent. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts to the casino. That's what that is. Negative progressions are you're trying to kill them with 1,000 paper cuts. And it's not for everybody. But that's what Ken preaches. That's what Whalen preaches. A lot of people preach this, right? And it's good. If you're okay with winning at the paper cut size level, go forth and conquer. That's awesome. That's the way, in my opinion, to do it. Even if I do it more from the positive progression side than the negative progression side, my personal preference, I still paper cut the shit out of them. That's how I do it. I think those bump on a pickle strategies that Ken likes to talk about, it's not that. It's the negative progression that gets you the 1 unit guarantee after a certain scope. That's the grinder mentality, and you've got to embrace it if that's what you want to do. If you want to do this on the regular, you've got to find ways to grind. All right, guys, I'm out. It is time for my 8:15 meeting. It was a good show today, I think. I think we had a good talk. Tomorrow we'll do more talk. Bring your anti-questions tomorrow. Tomorrow is a good day to bring the negative to me. And let's really go after it. Tomorrow's Fact or Fiction Day. I really want to go back and forth with you guys tomorrow on the pros and cons and the different ways that we can look at it. Because again, these systems are oftentimes, I hate to say sold, but they're sold to people as can't lose systems, and they're not. And people get sucked in. So what I want to do here is a little bit of a cautionary tale, but I want your stories from the field as well. All right. So tomorrow, let's have a nice interactive show. You guys have a great time. In the meantime, I'll see you on Tuesday. Have a good one. Love y'all. God bless. Bye-bye.